What's going on, you guys? It is your boy, the American F1 fan, Eric Ringo here, and we are back with another reaction video here from the Daily Fuel Up, and I will leave the link down in the description of their page and of this video. It's really what a great Formula One YouTube channel, kind of covering different events from past in Formula One. This is one of those ones that came up in my timeline, and I wanted to react to, and it's the race that changed Formula One forever. Now, from the picture behind, I can guess what race this is going to be, but I thought, why not react to this? So let's get on into this video, but first, make sure you guys subscribe to my channel if you guys are new for more daily and weekly Formula One content, more live streams of race weekends, the races specifically. We have another one coming up this weekend. It's Brazil this weekend. Before we then go to Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi to close out the regular season. But guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're on a mission to get to 500 subscribers before the end of the year. But let's get on to this video and see the race that changed Formula One forever.
As the great
Murray Walker was absolutely correct, because now I know what race this is. And if you guys haven't watched it and you guys have F1 TV Pro, go back and watch this race. This is absolutely insane.
Murray Walker, an icon of the commentary.
Miss him. I actually miss. I didn't get a chance to hear
for what he'd just seen. I don't think
him as a commentator as much here in the United States.
Drama in the entire history of Formula One as the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix. From a 13-car pileup, George Ropping
13 cars.
Pit lane bust up to the spicy Schumachers going to war and a maiden win for one of the sport's rising underdogs. This race had everything.
This race. Why do I have I had that visual of then Stefan. I have a visual of Stefan from Saturday Night Live coming on and saying this race had everything.
Needless to say, this place has everything.
That's my visual when I hear that. Sorry.
Qualifying was something special right from the start. The track conditions on Saturday were cool and dry, just perfect, and a thrilling
typical Spa, I think, for the most part. McLarens were so goated back then. They were a team that was always in the hunt for a World Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship.
Meanwhile, Damon Hill also had a fantastic qualifying performance.
Wow.
Taking P3 ahead of Michael Schumacher.
Damon Hill racing in the Jordans.
Schumacher's best time, in fact, was under scrutiny due to a waved yellow flag incident. And in the end, Hill managed to beat him by a fraction of a second. Beyond the top contenders, other drivers had their share of challenges.
Jesus, that Kirby hit. Good Lord, that shot him like 5 feet into the air.
Villeneuve took a very nice 6th place on the grid, despite almost wrecking his Williams the day before.
Wait, the Williams is red there?
Crashing his arrow during qualifying.
That's just weird to see a Williams in red and not blue. Like, that's like if Ferrari ran like a white liveried car. Like, red is synonymous with Ferrari. Whereas, like, for me, Williams is, like, blue is synonymous with Williams. Like, even today's Williams have that dark blue, like, it's almost like a Williams-colored blue. Like, you almost could have called it that. Like, that's just odd to see a Williams not being blue.
Say he would face some more trouble during the race. Race day turned out to be quite a roller coaster of events. Despite the forecast predicting warm and dry conditions, it started raining early Saturday morning. And
of course it did.
Everyone surprised about that one. I mean, it never rains at Spa, does it?
What?
Rain expert Schumacher showed his skill during the warm-up, setting the pace in his Ferrari, followed by Irvine.
Oh, that's right.
Ralph Schumacher and
back when a whole weekend was set up totally different. Like one practice session, qualifying, warm-up session, and then the race itself. Like, I totally forgot that that was
And
how
as the race
weekends
began,
used to be
only a few
set.
drivers, including Villeneuve, Alesi, and most notably Michael Schumacher, opted for intermediate tyres. Others, like Hakkinen, Coulthard, Hill, and Irvine, went with full wet tyres to play it safe.
Was this
And
back when...
boy, was this race anything but safe?
What was this race? Was Pirelli there yet? I thought it was still like Michelin and Bridgestone there. Which, if that's the case, it was two different tire manufacturers, and like they had totally different like builds to their tires, which was already a weird situation that we had dealt with a lot in the late 90s and early 2000s.
When the lights went out, Hakkinen got off to a solid start, but Coulthard struggled to get going. Villeneuve, on the
Coulthard had a...
shot up to challenge Hakkinen for the lead. Hill,
Oh.
experiencing excessive wheel spin, had dropped back to around 7th from 3rd, allowing Michael Schumacher
You can't say me.
P3. The front runners had got away well.
Like Michael just back there like disappears.
Where the real chaos unfolded.
Oh
The
my
spray from
God.
the cars made it nearly impossible to see what exactly happened.
It is amazing
But it was believed
this
that Irvine
day
made
that
contact with
nobody was
Coulthard,
severely
sending the
injured
McLaren
in this
spinning
crash.
across
Like, watching David Coulthard go basically head on into the wall in that straight leading up to Eau Rouge, how no one was injured, like severely injured in this wreck, is beyond
the
me.
midfield on the run-up to Eau Rouge, resulting in a major crash into a concrete barrier. It was a horrible sight seeing the car
Like-
spin across the track like that, whilst the drivers behind tried to dodge an
Oh my
oncoming
God,
machine.
like,
The likes of
cars just
Barrichello,
hitting
Rosset,
loose
Paris,
tires and
Salo
shooting them
would end
all
up
over
being
the
unable to make
place.
the restart because their cars were so utterly destroyed. Thankfully,
Wow.
though, none of the drivers were seriously injured. It took nearly an hour to clear the wreckage and get the
An
spare cars ready
hour?
for a restart.
Ah, that was another thing that was different in Formula One. They had the spare cars, or they called them the T cars, but it was basically the spare for, if one of the team members, either wrecked their car or had a problem with the engine, they literally had a third car and a third garage for these cars to be able to, get back into the race. Or like in these circumstances, if a race was going to have to be restarted, they could jump in these spare cars and go on like nothing happened, which was kind of cool. But I get why nowadays, as we get more and more into sustainability in Formula One, now I know why we don't have that anymore. But I think that was kind of a cool, thing in Formula One that, they had this spare car for instances like this.
Irvine took Schumacher's spare car, while Coulthard took the spare McLaren. Jordan's Ralf Schumacher was the only one who managed to escape the initial chaos unharmed, cleverly positioning his car to avoid the mayhem. As the cars lined up for the restart, only 18 drivers lined up on the grid. During the restart, Hill seized the opportunity to redeem himself from his earlier poor start. This time,
Oh
Hill
yeah,
had to
much
choose
better
to
start
rise
by
and overtake
Damon
both
there.
McLarens as they came around La Source again.
And there
While
goes
Hill was in
Ralph.
Dreamland, Hakkinen would have to endure quite the nightmare. His McLaren spun 180 degrees as he exited.
Oh,
the source.
right in the corner.
Stationary and facing the wrong way, he could only watch helplessly as
Oh.
Johnny Herbert's Sauber collided with him. But
Oh my God, what unlucky, just spinning, and like everybody has dodged you up to this point, except Johnny Herbert.
both drivers were
Golly.
out of the race on the spot, prompting the safety car to intervene. At least this time, the race wouldn't be halted. Just
Yeah.
like there's no halt in the content I'm bringing to you. So, if you're enjoying it, make sure
Subscribe
you
to them and
to
subscribe to me
make
while you
matters
guys are
worse
at
for
it.
McLaren, Coulthard had a rough first lap, struggling to regain control and ending up in the gravel trap after contact with Alexander Wurz-Benetton. Fortunately, he managed to rejoin the race
Wow.
in the back of the pack. As the safety car left,
That's impressive that he was able to rejoin. Usually when you end up in the gravel trap, you are not getting out.
the pack,
Like, you
the
are
top 10
stuck
order
as
was
shit.
Hill, Michael Schumacher, Irvine, Alesi, Villeneuve, Frentzen, Ralf Schumacher, Fisichella, Diniz, and Verstappen. No, not that one. Although with the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if he found a way to win this race too. After clearing the stranded Sauber
Of
and
course.
McLaren, the race
Gotta
resumed
throw that
just
in
2
there.
laps later. Hill's Jordan on intermediate tyres with hopes of a drying track initially looked confident and assured in the changing conditions. He managed to keep a small lead of just over a second on Schumacher's Ferrari.
Jeez, yeah, Damon is
The
doing.
rain started getting worse, and it became evident that Jordan was struggling to cope with the conditions.
Well, yeah, because if I remember correctly, they didn't change tires, so Michael was still on wets, and Damon would have been on the intermediates.
It was a bizarre sight to see Hill and the Jordan leading the race, but on lap 7, Schumacher made his move, outbraking Hill into the bus stop chicane and taking the lead of the race. As
that bus stop chicane looks much different now than it used to. Did they? Let me know in the comment section down below. Did they redo that so now it goes? So now it goes right into a left. Like they've redone that.
As the race progressed, Jos Verstappen's Stewart suffered a blown engine, forcing him out on lap 8. Irvine also had troubles on lap 9, breaking his front wing and barge board after missing the chicane and hitting a curb.
Yeah, you could see the nose
underneath
underneath there.
The damage and switch to full wet tires. Ralf Schumacher, on the other hand, would make a strategic tire change on lap 11, swapping his intermediates for full wets, which would later prove to be a wise move.
Sometimes my genius is
Sorry, gotta let that play.
On lap 6,
It's Ralf Schumacher gets such he's as an F1 pundit now. I can't stand him. I think he's got some ridiculous takes, but as a racer, I think he got so overshadowed by Michael that he just was never going to be able to build a name for himself, and it really I think it hurt him in the long run. But I feel like had Michael not been around, Ralph would have been a really, really good driver, enough that teams would have really given him a better shot.
16, most of the leading drivers still on intermediates, such as the likes of Jacques Villeneuve, would pit for full wets, or at least try to. Yeah, Villeneuve took a happy misadventure into the barriers just before his stop. Damon Hill's pit stop wasn't entirely smooth either, as the mechanics
Back when they had refueling too.
But they managed to get it done despite a minor hiccup. By lap 17, Hill found himself sandwiched between the two Schumachers. Michael had a comfortable lead over Hill, and Ralph was in 3rd place, grateful for the earlier strategic tyre change. Alesi, Frentzen, Irvine, Diniz, and Fisichella followed.
That is a weird top 8 right there that I think even back then nobody would have expected.
In top positions. Coulthard, though, was a little frustrated with the conditions and urged for the safety car to return. His intuition would later prove to be correct. By lap 24, Ralf
What?
Schumacher closed the gap to his teammate Damon Hill to just 10 seconds. While Michael extended his lead over Hill to almost 30 seconds. On this very lap, Michael would
30 seconds? Good God almighty, that just shows how good he was.
also almost collide with Diniz. And for those of you that know, well, you know how foreshadowing works.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
He then approached Coulthard and was about to be lapped, but the situation got tense as Schumacher gestured his impatience with the McLaren in his way.
Blue flags, blue flags. I'm seriously, Vettel is screaming blue flags at the screen right now.
Coulthard's rear when trying to pass the Scotsman.
David Coulthard in these appalling conditions.
Oh!
Schumacher hits David Coulthard and is out.
Causing severe damage.
Oh my God, he literally lopped that whole wheel straight off. How did he not, oh my, there's so many questions with that crash. Why was David Coulthard in basically what would be considered, I would consider the racing line when he's getting lapped? I'm guessing blue flags weren't a thing back then. And teams were, especially with Coulthard and McLaren, you didn't want Ferrari to get by, and I get that, but Coulthard caused that accident so badly. That's just horrible.
damage to the Ferrari. Frustration
Driving
had
on
gotten the
three
better of
wheels.
the German in these treacherous conditions. Both cars limped on,
Jeez.
but Michael's race was over. He'd been leading the race by well over 30 seconds. He
Wow.
was well on his way to solidifying his
Oh yeah,
run in the driver's title.
he was winning
It
that
all
race.
gone in an instant. He was so angry that when he got back to the pits, he threw his steering wheel at his mechanic, got out the car and headed
he was
straight for the McLaren garage. He confronted Coulthard, who still had his helmet on. He was totally convinced that Coulthard was the one to blame for whatever just went down on the track. And
Wow. Signs of NASCAR in Formula One. Michael was going down there to beat his ass. Like, I guess I don't blame him. I mean, you get taken out of the race like that. I mean, you know, I can't see why he wouldn't want to go down there and give him a piece of his mind.
let me tell you, the exchange was fiery. Coulthard later recounted that Schumacher was fuming, accusing him of some pretty serious stuff. We're talking trying to fucking kill me kind of accusations.
Well,
Things got so intense that the Ferrari and McLaren crews had to step in and physically separate the two hot-headed drivers. Now this was true drama. This is what you'd call in cinema terms pure kino. But the German wasn't done.
I don't know what he just said there, but yeah, that's NASCAR stuff from like the US. Like you see that in NASCAR all the time when stuff like this comes up.
Yet,
so
he
that's
stormed off to the stewards' office
amazing to
officially
see
lodge
that.
a protest against Coulthard. Later, David Coulthard shared his thoughts on Michael Schumacher's antics, saying, "It's disgusting behavior for someone who's got such a fantastic record for driving in this sport. He really needs to get some sort of help for controlling his anger after such an event." Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said the spice was off the charts with this.
That's just like rubbing salt into the wound. Like Coulthard had a shit race. He basically was in the racing line of Michael Schumacher. For lack of a better term, he took him out. And then he's like, "You should really get help for your anger issues." Like that's like that's a psychopath in a way, like where you're basically making the other guy feel like he should be to blame for everything that happened like before that. Like that's just sociopath, whatever you want to call it.
Damon Hill now found himself back in the lead. Except
Wow.
there would be a twist in the tale yet. Despite Michael's accident, there was still hope for a Schumacher victory. Ralf Schumacher, proving that wet weather skills ran in the family, had been climbing through the field.
Man.
He was sitting in third place before his brother's mishap. He had managed to reduce Hill's lead from 22 seconds to just over 10 at one point.
Wow.
A safety car was deployed following a crash between Giancarlo Fisichella.
The same goddamn thing happened. The same thing happens with Giancarlo Fisichella. Oh my god. What the hell is going on?
Shinji Nakano, Ralph got a chance to restart the race rightly behind Hill as the
Wow,
second car
what
came
is
with
going
12 laps to
on?
go. Jordan now saw the possibility
12
of not
laps
only
to
a
go.
victory, but also a 1-2 finish, a first in the history of the team, in a season where they hadn't finished higher than fourth. Ralph, encouraged by his engineer Sam Michael, quickly found a good rhythm on the restart and piled pressure on Hill. As the race entered its closing stages, with the rain still pouring down, Hill started to feel the pressure and made his status as world champion clear to the team over the radio. Jordan
What kind of, like... I mean, I get team orders have been around in Formula One forever, but like, what the... Like, why are you making that threat? So basically, you're telling your team that if Ralph tries to race me, I'm going to take him out. Like, that's the way that sounds to me, is that, like, he's basically saying, I'm going to take him out if we decide to race here. And if if you don't, like, if you just tell us, like, tell Ralph to back off, like, we'll get a 1-2. Like, I get that, like, Damon Hill was probably chasing a championship at this time. I would love to know the point totals, but, like, the fact that you're throwing that out there as, like, a veiled threat is really, really weird to me. And I cannot get... You guys can't see this in the video because I've got there is a nose hair, Like, if you go watch the video on your own, like there's a nose hair right in here where it is bugging the piss out of me. Like, I just want to go up and just pull it out. Sorry. Anyways.
Jordan, slow to make a decision, was considering all factors, including Ralph's contract negotiations for the following year. Eventually, he decided.
Oh, so this was even Ralph's
instructing
last
Ralph
year.
not to overtake Damon. Ralph's engineer, Sam Michael, tried to get the message through to him several times. And let's just say Ralph wasn't a happy camper about it.
No, God, please, no.
I wouldn't be either. Like, I wouldn't be either if I'm being told that I basically cannot win the race and that I've got to let Damon Hill win, or, you know, my teammate win the race when I'm showing to be the better driver right now. Like, that's, oh man. I get it's Formula One.
Despite the clear
I get it's a Formula
Schumacher
One.
continued to push.
You know, and
Still, there was no
not
response.
answering.
Silence.
I don't blame him.
It was his fourth attempt, but he finally got through to the German driver, who responded with a two-word reply. Despite the team orders,
I
there was a
do
sense
not
that
blame
Ralph
him
might
at all.
ignore them, especially since he was suing Jordan to be released from his contract and join Williams next year.
Oh.
So what do you do?
I twist. Eddie Irvine's race was
Oh.
over too, as his
I didn't
Ferrari
know
spun off the
that.
track into the gravel after clipping a curb. Now, both Ferraris were also out.
Ferraris and
Showing
McLarens are all
dedication to the
out.
team's orders, but Alesi was applying some pressure from behind, albeit unsuccessfully. Frentzen and Denise would end up being unable to keep up with the leading trio, and Jarno truly managed to secure a valuable point for Prost,
Wow.
albeit 2 laps behind the leaders. Slow and
Finished 2 laps down, but got a point. That is
steady comes
ridiculous.
6th in the race, I suppose. The race
That is
concluded on lap
ridiculous.
44, with Damon Hill celebrating his historic victory for Jordan, their first ever Grand Prix win, and in a remarkable 1-2.
Ralph just
Eddie
looks
Jordan's
so
joy was
mad.
evident as he performed a now famous jig in the paddock. Schumacher's
Ralph
frustration
looks
was
so
apparent, much
angry.
like his brother's anger in the McLaren garage earlier. He
I
was
don't
denied a
blame
possible
him.
First win, and despite waving his cap and spraying champagne during the celebrations, he felt aggrieved. So aggrieved that he even crashed Jordan's post-race celebrations, saying that Ralph would never drive for Jordan again. If any of you were wondering, yes, he did actually follow up on that threat. Ralph would achieve one final podium for Jordan.
Wow. Like, I don't know if I necessarily would have gone the route of, like, suing your team, but, like, you know, I don't know if I could have gone that far in threatening the team and telling them I'm never racing for you again. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. That's probably not one of them.
At Monza, before leaving the team for Williams, where he spent 6 years. Michael missed out on a third world title, losing to Hakkinen in the final race. Had he won
Wow.
at Spa, he would have gone into the title showdown at Suzuka with a 6-point lead instead of a 4-point deficit.
Wow.
And only 8 out of 22 cars would finish the race, with 13 out of 14.
What the are we just gonna blow past the fact we had 2 people just walking across the track? Like, am I the only one that, like,
Title showdown at Suzuka.
Like,
with
what
a
the
6-point
hell was
lead instead
that?
of a 4-point deficit. In the end, only 8
Like, look
out
at
of
this. One
22
guy walking
cars would
across.
finish the race.
Here comes another guy
13
just
out of
running
14
across.
DNFing cars bowing out of the race due to
What
some
the
sort of
fuck
collision
was
damage.
that?
The only man that retired on track due to a mechanical failure was Esteban Tuero in the Minardi Ford. And boy, would he have been thanking his guardian angels for that.
Thank God.
So, not only was Spa in
Thank God.
1998 a gift from the F1 scriptwriters,
Wow.
it also had huge implications for the Drivers' Championship. I quite doubt we will ever see a race like this again, mostly because the FIA would rather run 2 laps in the wet and then call the race off these days.
Yep.
That being said, if you enjoyed this video, why don't you check out
Oh my God, that was so the truth at the very end there. So the truth. Like, I get safety-wise, but, like, that's the truth. We're never going to see races like this one ever again. So, I mean, this race did change Formula One and the way things go now. But, guys, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought of this race. Are there other races that maybe could have been considered for the race to change Formula One forever? Let me know that in the comment section down below. As well, guys, always let me know what other videos you guys would like me to react to here on the channel. Guys, make sure you slap a like on this video to get this video out to more and more Formula One fans. And then also, guys, if you guys are new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world to me. So please hit that subscribe button. On a mission to 500 subscribers before the end of the year. We do live streams every race weekend. We've got 3 races to go, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and join me for those live races. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. The American F1 fan, I'm Eric Ringel, signing off.